Whether you're ordering wings for the game, whipping up a 7-layer dip, or ordering pizza, there's something about football that makes you want to eat. And this football season, Uber Eats has the best deals on game day food. No matter what you're craving, from 2-for-1 pizza to buy one, get one wings, Uber Eats will be dropping new deals each week, all season long. Uber Eats, official on-demand delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
Want to shop Walmart Black Friday deals first? Walmart Plus members get early access to our hottest deals. Join now and get 50% off a 1-year annual membership. Shop Black Friday deals first with Walmart Plus. See terms at walmartplus.com.
The holidays are back at Starbucks, and there's so much to share. With classics like Caramel Brulee Latte, Peppermint Mocha, and Chestnut Praline Latte, we're celebrating everyone's flavor of festivity. Order yours in the app.
Ryan Reynolds here for, I guess, my 100th Mint commercial. No, don't. I mean, honestly, when I started this, I thought I only have to do like 4 of these. I mean, it's unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. How are there still people paying 2 or 3 times that much? I'm sorry, I shouldn't be victim blaming here. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/save. Whenever you're ready.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
Hey there, Duke fans, and welcome to episode number 71 of DBR Bites of the Duke Basketball Roundup. I am Donald. I am still here. We are recording this immediately after the recap from Kansas, but because
the long recap.
So go listen to that. If you're listening to this, it's probably Thanksgiving Day for you. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there. Thank you. We are so eternally grateful for you as listeners on this show. I am Donald. I am not yet on the turkey yet. Jason has been cooking turkey since yesterday, or since Wednesday, I guess. And he's probably still trying to take time out to do this on his turkey day. But Jason, hello. What's it been like in the last 5 seconds?
Yeah, right. It's been great in the last 5 seconds. Actually, it's been terrible because we've been talking about a Duke loss, but hopefully we'll get back to a win against Seattle.
Yes, we are. That's what we're here for. We're gonna basically preview that game for you for this game. Again, that game is on Friday night in Cameron Indoor Stadium. We're back home. We get to kind of shake the rust off of that loss and hopefully turn it around and get ready for the next couple of weeks of the schedule, which, as we have mentioned, is again adding to the toughness of the kind of guys that we're going to see. But we start with the Seattle U Redhawks out of the Western Athletic Conference. They are 125th in Ken Palm's rankings. They are 2-4 in the season, and I'm just going to briefly go through who they've played so far this season. They took a loss in their first game of the season. Actually, their first 3 games were losses to Eastern Washington, Liberty, and Cal Poly. All those games were very close. Eastern Washington 93-86. Liberty, they only lost by 2, and Cal Poly, they only lost by 4. They then finally got a win in their 4th game of the season against UC San Diego, that score 84-71. They then followed up with a non-Division I team called Northwest. I believe they are also out of Seattle. They beat them 80-52. And for them, they actually got to see some of the lights and glamour of Las Vegas. They actually played Furman in this Vegas showdown event that followed the Duke-Kansas game. And right. I believe it's Furman that goes to play Kansas on Friday, and then Seattle comes to play us. So it's kind of a multi-team event-ish type of deal. But they got to play
tournament. Right.
Not a tournament, just a event. But they did play Furman, and they did lose to Furman at T-Mobile Arena, 61-56. But again, for Duke, it's a chance to get back to business, to kind of recalibrate and correct some of the things that they have been doing wrong, those details, work on those, and maybe get some guys a little bit more confidence. But Jason, let's now shift to the analytics of Seattle U. So tell us about the Redhawks.
Yeah, so you mentioned they're 2-4 overall. They're actually a pretty decent WAC team. They're number 125 in Ken Pomeroy's rankings. This is not, Duke's played some teams that are ranked in the 300s and the such. This Seattle team is a team that people expect to contend in the WAC conference. Ken Pomeroy, by the way, projects that Duke's going to win this game 80-59, a 21-point victory. But again, this is not a It's not one of the situations where he says Duke's a 99+% chance to win this game. There's a chance Duke really struggles against Seattle because Seattle's a fairly decent team. But they have one thing working against them. They are short. This Seattle team is 262nd in the nation in height, and their starting lineup goes like this: 6'0, 6'3, 6'3, 6'8, 6'8. They got one guy who's about 6'10, but he doesn't really play a lot. This is a small team. And as a result of them being a small team, they do not protect the rim. They do not block shots. They are among the bottom 10 teams in the country at shot block percentage. And they are also one of the bottom 5 teams in the country at defending 2-point shots. Basically, because they don't have the height, they don't have the makeup, they don't have the length to protect the rim, teams go inside on them, teams take good 2-point shots against them, and they knock them down. Opponents hit, get ready for the number, Donald. Opponents hit 63.1% of their 2-point field goals against Seattle. That is an outrageous 63%. That's an outrageous number.
I would love that. In fact, I would
Yeah.
like more of that. Let's get to like 70. That'd be the idea. But again, I will focus a little bit more on the matchups afterwards. But it does mean that Duke has a chance to some of the things we talked about that went wrong against Kansas. We weren't able to find a way to get into the paint and make something happen. We have plenty of opportunities to do that against Seattle.
Exactly, exactly. They are, you know, they're a decent team at defending the three, but they're really bad at defending the two. On offense, they're pretty good at hitting 3-pointers. They hit better than 36% from three. They shoot a fair number of threes as well, and they do a nice job of drawing fouls. They're like top 60 in the country at their free throw rate. It's also worth noting that even though they're small, they're a fairly good rebounding team, especially when it comes to defensive rebounding. They do not allow many offensive rebounds at all. They send everybody to the boards. This is not a team that's going to play really fast. They're not looking to get out on the fast break a ton. They know they're small, and they know they need everybody on the team to try and get rebounds. So they do a decent job at that. In terms of players, I mentioned their free throw rate. You know, the fact that they are like top 60 in the country at getting to the free throw line. That is because of a guy named Matthew Alexander Moncrief. He is a 6'8 forward. He's their best player. He had played 2 years at Oklahoma State and then 2 years at UGA at Georgia. He had limited roles at both of those schools, where he is having a huge super senior season at Seattle. First of all, he draws 8.5 fouls per 40 minutes. That's an outrageous number. It's a huge number. He is a big who will get your bigs in trouble. He is third in the land, third best country in all of college basketball at free throw rate, meaning free throws taken while he is on the floor, is super impressive. He averages 14.5 points per game, 10.5 rebounds per game. He is a guy who is doing a really good job at defensive rebounding. I talked about their defensive rebounding. He has the third highest defensive rebounding rate in the country. This is a guy who grabs rebounds and gets fouled a lot, but he stays in the post. Matthew Alexander Moncrief is not going to venture outside to take a 3-pointer. It's just not going to happen. 36 of his 39 shots on the season have been within 6 feet of the basket.
He has
My
taken a
man.
3. He's taken 1 3.
He has, but I think it may have been like a desperation. I just don't.
Mhm.
I've looked at some highlights and stuff. Dude does not go outside. He is in the post. Now, the bad thing for Matthew is I think that he's going to be the guy who has to cover Cooper Flagg. Like, I've looked at their roster. No one else really makes sense to guard Cooper Flagg. So I guess it falls to him. I don't think Matthew Alexander Moncrief really has the proper skill set to do it. Their biggest outside threat, I mentioned that Matthew Alexander Moncrief is their threat on the inside. Their threat on the outside is a guy named John Christophilus, a 6'3 junior. He shoots more than 7 3-pointers per game, hits them at about a 39% rate. Good 3-point shooter. At 12.5 points per game, he's their only other player in addition to Matthew who is in double figures in terms of scoring. This Seattle team is a deep team. They have like 10 different guys who get regular minutes in these games, and no one plays more than about 28 minutes per game. But it is worth noting about them that they have multiple guys. I mentioned that Matthew Alexander Moncrief played for Oklahoma State and Georgia. They have other guys who played for Iowa State, played for Creighton. So there are several guys in this team who are used to the level of competition that you're going to get from a team like Duke. Now, none of these guys were like big major contributors for those power conference teams, but they got into games, they played some, and they will have a sense of what it's like to play a team that has the kind of talent that Duke does. They won't be wowed by being in Cameron because they've been in big arenas in the past. You know, I don't see a lot on this Seattle team that I say, oh, that's going to give Duke a lot of trouble. In fact, I think a lot of what Seattle struggles at are things that are going to play really nicely into what Duke wants to do. Um, but you know, every team has a puncher's chance, and they do have several guys in the team who can shoot good threes. I think that would probably have to be part of their formula. I would expect this though to be a fairly comfortable Duke win, and I really, really want to see this team, this Duke team, begin to show a little more creativity on offense. We have talked about that a lot lately, Donald.
Yeah, and I think the one thing to remember about Seattle U is that you mentioned they are not this run-of-the-mill lower major team that's like 300 in the 300s of KenPom. They're 125th, and they show what it means to be a team that is very short but looks up at their competition and says, game on, ball up top. Like this is a team that's going to be spunky. They're going to try and get in your face. They're going to try not necessarily be physical, but they're going to be the bee in the, they're trying to, shake the hornet's nest, right? They're trying to get in your face and make you make a bad decision with the basketball where they can take advantage through the things that they do well. And I think that leads to the matchups that I think are interesting. One, I think you mentioned Cooper Flag, but I think the matchup really is going to be Kama Malaj versus whoever they uh, set lineup against him, right? Because he's going to have at least a 6-inch advantage over his competition, unless they bring in that 6'10" guy. Then even that's down to 4 inches. But I think the one thing about it is rebounding by our big men needs to be a priority. We've seen the last few games where our big men, you mentioned their big men don't get that many rebounds. This is a game where we have to really win this rebounding battle, and it should not be close. We should be the guys getting the paint, being physical, getting the basketball on defense and going. And on offense, if we do miss shots, get those offensive rebounds and get second chance points.
Hey, really quick, the guy who's probably going to match up with him is a guy named Malek Goma. 6'8", 245. That
Hmm.
is who will probably be matched up with Kaman Malawach. And it's worth noting that Malek Goma and Matthew Alexander Moncrief are both like among the national leaders in offensive and defensive rebounding rates. These are two guys who understand that that needs to be the focus of their game, and they do a fairly decent job, a very good job, in fact, on the boards. So, but you know, Duke is a step up in quality, a big step up in quality from what they're used to so far this year.
Yeah, and I think again, you have to establish the paint. In games that we've won, we've established the paint. We've been very good at getting inside, getting points from the paint, but also on defense, making sure that the team comes in, they understand that either the shot's getting swatted or they're trying to create something terrible out of nothing, and we're getting the rebounding going the other way. So we have to really reestablish that. And yes, this is a smaller team, so people would say it's easier to do that. But the teams that are spunky and teams that are just going to show the fight, that makes it where it's a challenge. And you mentioned some of these guys that can pose a challenge, maybe not in talent or height, but they will have the tenacity. We have to match that intensity that they are clearly going to bring into Cameron on Friday. I also think our guards, we mentioned in Kansas the guard play and how it needs to be more creative. It also needs to take control of the game. And I think hopefully the idea is to get the ball in the hands of, Caleb Foster and Tyrese Proctor, Sion James, get them involved early, make it where they establish the tone of this game, whether it's going on a run, and making where we get a few more possessions, or if it's on defense, getting right up and being physical and showing that yes, not only am I bigger than you, but I'm tougher than you. I want the ball more than you, and I'm going to get the ball from you. That is the mentality that they have said they wanted to install in this team has not yet shown itself for 40 minutes. This is a game where we need to work on trying to make sure we can do that for long stretches of time and take Seattle out of it so that we can focus on the things we want to do. Whatever those key details we want to work on, it doesn't help if we're only up 10 or only up 15 and Seattle's trying to make a game of it. Take them out of the game early. And this again, issuing this kind of not as a challenge, but more of a this is what needs to happen. Cameron, show up. I know it's Thanksgiving break, but Cameron, this is a chance for you to get behind this team and give them the momentum they need, give them the energy they need to get back on the winning side of things and get the the spunkiness going in Cameron. So again, it's not all the students are going to be there, and I appreciate that. But whoever is in Cameron on Friday night, bring the noise because that's going to help this team really get back to the details of why Duke is Duke.
Yeah, by the way, one of the matchups that I think is really interesting, John Christophilus, who I mentioned earlier, is their really good outside shooter, is just 6'3", barely 200 pounds. He's almost certainly going to be matched up with Con Knipple. I'm not seeing, them. He's probably going to be the guy, and I think that could be a really, really tough matchup for him. I would I would love to see Con get back on track from long range. But I also really want to see him, if he's going to continue to create in the lane the way he has been, find your teammates, find your teammates, find your teammates, because I think that could be, a real help for Duke moving forward if we're able to get a combination of Con hitting shots and also being a creator. And maybe this is a game where we're going to see even more of Isaiah Evans. It's so tantalizing. His talent is so tantalizing, and he's got to be frustrated that he's only appeared in 3 games for Duke so far this year. Seattle is, a step up in quality from the 3 games, the opponents that he's faced. And what we really want, though, is for Isaiah to get to the point where he can play against anyone in the nation.
Yeah, that, and I also think, I mean, as well, Darren Harris, getting him some time. Patrick Ngongba, I think, could be a X factor for this team in the sense that if guys are going to go after our bigs and send them to the bench with foul trouble, right? Like we see the way that the game changes from when man is in the game and when Malik Brown is in the game. And again, not to say that Patrick Ngongba is as has the same talent as those guys in certain areas, but he feels like the best blend of the 2 guys, right? He can do the shot blocking, he can get his hand in passing lanes. That is what Man and Malik do. And when he's in the game, if he can establish himself as a guy that can do a little bit of both to keep the defense sealed inside until those guys get back on the floor, that'd be a big help. But again, we need to get to the point where we feel confident and the coaching staff feels confident that, hey, we can put him in there and we can do something with him.
Yeah, although the reason I specifically mentioned Isaiah is I feel like Isaiah has that ability to break guys down off the dribble, to be dangerous with the ball in his hands, to create opportunities for his teammates that we maybe aren't. I don't think we're certainly not going to get that from Patrick Ngongba. I don't think that that's quite Darren Harris's profile. Darren Harris is a great shooter, no question about it. But I don't think he quite profiles the same as Isaiah Evans. And what Isaiah can do is something that a lot of people feel like Duke has been missing a bit of this season.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, again, this is a game where you want to start early, get Seattle out of the way so you can work on some of these things with some of these guys that aren't getting enough playing time so they can gain the confidence that you may need to put them in a big game down the line when we will absolutely need them. So we want everybody to stay ready so they ain't got to get ready and they'll always be ready. My mantra for life. Let's leave it here. Again, Seattle, Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern time on ACC Network. We will be watching. I know you will be too. Get your headlines in after that game to dbrpodcast@gmail.com. We will take a quick break. We are going to shift to the professional gridiron because one of our own has found a new home. We'll talk to you about Danny Dimes after this.
Hey, Duke fans, shopping time of year is here, and you should spark something uncommon this holiday season with just the right gift from Uncommon Goods.
That's right, Jason. The busy holiday season is here, and Uncommon Goods makes it less stressful with incredible hand-picked gifts for everyone on your list, all in one spot. Gifts that spark joy, wonder, delight. You know, that it's exactly what I wanted feeling. We all want that. Somehow, they've created a place where you can find that exact perfect gift for everyone.
You know, Donald, and speaking of perfect gifts, I've mentioned this before. I got this root beer maker from Uncommon Goods. It is outrageous. The notion that I can make root beer in my home, in my kitchen, is crazy. I can have it fresh whenever I want it. It is super cool. I strongly recommend that one.
So root beer floats in your future, acupuncture mat my future. That's been great, especially after these long, stressful days. From holiday gifts to the coolest finds for kids to hits for everyone, from book lovers to diehard sports fans, Uncommon Goods has something for everyone. Not the same old selections you can find just anywhere. And with every single purchase you make, they give back $1 to a nonprofit partner of your choice. I think that's pretty cool. So far, they have raised more than $3 million.
Yeah, and by the way, in addition to doing good for the world, we're going to give you a little bit of a discount. You'll get 15% off your next gift at Uncommon Goods if you go to uncommongoods.com/DukeBB. uncommongoods.com/DukeBB. Get 15% off and don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods. We are all out of the ordinary.
Hey, it's Kaylee Cuoco for Priceline. Ready to go to your happy place for a happy price? Well, why didn't you say so? Just download the Priceline app right now and save up to 60% on hotels. So whether it's Cousin Kevin's Kazoo Concert in Kansas City, go Kevin, or Becky's Bachelorette Bash in Bermuda, you never have to miss a trip ever again. So download the Priceline app today. Your savings are waiting. Go to your happy place for a happy price with Priceline's Black Friday sale. Save now and travel later with our best deals of the year.
Go to your happy price, Priceline.
This year, Santa's bringing the power of Energizer into his workshop.
Whoa, the Energizer Bunny's got so much power.
Wait, he's powered up all the toys. I think that means we're done for the year.
I love this bunny.
He's the hardest working helper the North Pole has ever seen. And he wants all your gifts to have the power of the #1 longest lasting AA battery. So this holiday season, stock up on Santa's and the elves' favorite battery, Energizer Ultimate Lithium.
So, you want to be a marketer. It's easy. You just have to score a ton of leads and figure out a way to turn them all into customers. Plus, manage a dozen channels, write 1 million blogs, and launch 100 campaigns all at once. When that's done, simply make your socials go viral and bring in record profits. No sweat. Okay, fine. It's a lot of sweat. But with HubSpot's AI-powered marketing tools, launching benchmark-breaking campaigns is easier than ever. Get started at HubSpot.com/marketers.
All right, we are back, and we want to shift to the NFL for a minute because we don't get to talk about the NFL as much on this show other than shout out my Detroit Lions. But I will say this, Daniel Jones has found a new home in NFC North, and it is with the Minnesota Vikings. Everyone knows over the weekend he had been released from the New York Giants, I guess by mutual agreement that he was released from the Minnesota or for the New York Giants. He passed waivers, and now he's going to be a part of the Vikings. I think, Jason, and I think you had the details because I was traveling when this was happening, but I believe he is signed for the rest of the season to the Vikings. He will start on the practice squad for them, but he's also going to be like their emergency third string quarterback for now, in the hopes that maybe he's able to, get up and maybe get some playing time for a team that's still contending somehow to get the NFC North title.
Yeah, so his situation is that he's going to begin on the practice squad, and I think that's primarily because they need to get him up to speed in the playbook. I mean, an NFL playbook is a complicated, long thing, and Daniel Jones needs a little bit of time to work that kind of stuff out. The Vikings are in sort of a really interesting place in terms of quarterbacks because they drafted J.J. McCarthy, like a top 10, I want to say it was a top 10 pick this past year. And they clearly expect him to be the future of the franchise. They used a really high draft pick on him, but he's been hurt all year. I want to say like tore meniscus or something like that. But it's kind of injury that means he won't get any reps this season. They have Sam Darnold as their starter, but Sam, he's not under contract for next year. In fact, J.J. McCarthy is the only guy who's under contract at quarterback for next season. So it may be that part of what Danny is doing with this is he's signing on to a team where if they like what they see, they go, yeah, we've got a clear and obvious role for you to be a veteran, to help bridge the gap to J.J. McCarthy, to help school J.J. and get him where he needs to be. That's That's more than just going someplace and being a backup. That's a larger role, and it may be something that is why Danny was attracted to the Minnesota Vikings, because the word out there was there were lots of teams that were interested in signing Daniel Jones. I think everybody recognizes maybe he isn't a top tier NFL starter, but he's a guy. If you had him as your backup, or there are plenty of teams that would even think if we had him as our starter, we'd be in a better situation than we are right now.
And he has the added element of being a guy that is dangerous on the run. We're not talking like 30, 40 yards. He's not Mike Vick out there running, but just like at Duke, he was able to get downfield, and he's a guy that is a dual threat. So he's able to pick up first downs, goal line situations, or third and short situations when you need somebody to convert. He adds an extra element to the fact that he can, bowl your way to a first down. He has that kind of strength, and he's able to read gaps and even get 10, 15 yards downfield. So it wasn't just his throwing ability that the Giants were attracted by, and same with the Vikings. It's the fact that he can provide that aspect as well of a guy who, when you need a short gain situation, he can be an extra guy in the huddle that can get the ball and run.
Yeah, and the last thing is, it was widely reported that Daniel really wanted to go to a playoff contender. He has most assuredly done that by going to Minnesota. He goes from the 2-9 New York Giants to the 9-2 Minnesota Vikings. So he truly reversed the field, so to speak, in that moment. And I think he's going to try and get himself up to speed on what Minnesota needs from him, and then he's available to help the team any way they can as they hope to make a deep playoff run.
Well, I hope he has one more loss in his future, because the Lions and the Vikings play in the last game of the regular season. But again, I wish him the best and hope that he can make a name for himself. And really, again, even if it's not with Minnesota, that he's able to at least show them enough that some team picks him up and keeps him on a roster next season. Because I know that the situation in New York wasn't all his fault. It was he was partly to blame, but it feels like that whole franchise really set him up and set up a lot of guys for failure. And
one of the worst offensive lines in all of football. There's no question about it. And he, throughout his entire New York tenure, he just never had an offensive line.
Never had a chance.
Capable of protecting him. Nor did he have good wide receivers.
And they got rid of his best asset, which was Saquon Barkley, because they felt that they didn't want to pay him. So there's a lot of things going wrong over there in East Rutherford, New Jersey, both with the Giants and the Jets. But hopefully Danny Dimes has found a better situation. Not too much better, right? Again, just need one more loss out of him, and then he can ball out the rest of the season. That's just my personal opinion. But we will leave it here on this episode of DBR Bites. Again, the Seattle game, Friday night on ACC Network at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We will be back some point this weekend to recap that. There is one final football game of the regular season for Duke. They take on Wake Forest on the road. We will talk about that probably this weekend as well. But until then, for Jason Evans and for Donald Wine, it's the turkey. The turkey's going to gobble, 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 gobble as a Duke band plays us out and takes us home.